Hi, I'm Stephen with AlbertaUrbanGarden.ca. Potatoes are one of the staple crops in most Canadian gardens, and today I'm going to go through some tips and tricks to help you get a great potato harvest every year. Today's video is sponsored by Earth Apples. Check out the link below for information on their seed potato products. Picking the right seed potato is important to start with. By far the most consistent question I get about seed potatoes is whether they're determinate or indeterminate. The common assumption is that potatoes are similar to tomatoes, where determinate varieties will set once and grow one crop, and indeterminate will continue to set all season long. For Canadian gardeners, I think we need to ask, is this the right question to be asking? If you consider our colder climate and shorter growing season, you are not likely going to be able to leverage the advantage of an indeterminate variety before freezing temperatures arrive in the fall. I think the better question is if you would like early versus late maturing varieties. Early maturing varieties will produce smaller tubers, but in greater numbers, than later maturing, which produce fewer, larger potatoes. I typically grow some of both varieties to spread out my harvest and enjoyment. One of the best features of potatoes is that they can be grown both in containers and garden beds, making it easier for everyone to plant. I find I can grow any varieties using both growing methods. There are, however, some pros and cons to each method. Growing potatoes in containers is a great way to take up less space, as they can be moved around the garden. With that said, due to the smaller soil volume when compared to the surface area, that allows for water to evaporate at a much faster rate. When it's sunny and hot, I check them every few days to see if they need to be watered. In addition, most varieties, when you compare growing methods side by side, typically, I'll notice that when I grow in containers, I see a higher number of tubers that are typically smaller in size, which is great if you're looking for baby potatoes. When grown in my garden beds, my largest challenge is the fact that the potato plants take up about 30 centimeters by 30 centimeters or 1 foot squared. And in high winds, the vegetation can lay down and block their neighbors. With that in mind, when I grow them in my garden beds, they require far less work. The second most asked question is with regards to what type of soil I put in my containers or garden beds. Potatoes are not picky. They can be grown in subpar areas in your garden to help improve the soil quality over time. I do not find that I need to add any nutrients, as I have found potatoes grow perfectly fine even in unfinished compost or in dense clay, where one can expect none of the regular soil fertility to help. If you are filling containers or garden beds, I typically recommend a 1-to-1 ratio of fine compost to peat moss or coconut coir. Unfinished compost can be used, however, you will likely find your tubers will end up with scabs. They're not harmful. Hilling potatoes is a process where you mound up additional soil around the plants. Regardless of the variety, I will hill plants when they are about 30 centimeters or 12 inches tall. Hilling is important as it will protect the tubers from the sun and prevent them from developing chlorophyll, which reduces their quality. Hilling also provides additional soil for micro roots to take advantage of, retains moisture when the plant needs it most, and provides space for the tubers to mature. Potato seed packages typically have a days until harvest marked clearly on the packaging. I typically use it to get an estimate on when I need to start looking. All I do when I want to harvest is pull back the soil and find a tuber and judge from its size if it's time to harvest. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more gardening tips and tricks, please consider subscribing.